You, as the pioneer, have finally reached that destination where you're ready to settle down. It's time to build the town and become the Old West Empresario.
Hey guys, and welcome to Tantrum House Studio 3. I'm Will Meadows.
And I'm Sara Meadows, and today we're reviewing the game Old West Empresario from TMG. It's from designer Stan Kordonski and artwork by Sergi Marcet.
It's a 2 to 4 player dice drafting tile placement game. It takes about 45 minutes to an hour to play. It's the next in the line from TMG of their Pioneer Days games, and we got a copy of it from them, so we're going to take a look at how it's played.
To set up the game, give each player a town hall tile, 3 gold, 3 random building tiles, and 2 character cards, and they will choose one.
Place out the 6 dice tiles and place 2 building tiles under each.
Choose 3 gold wanted cards and lay them out with the matching silver cards.
Make a pile of the population tokens for your player count and place 2 dice per person plus 1 in the pool.
Each player will choose one of the 3 building tiles they were given and place it colored side down, and then you're ready to begin.
At the start of the round, the dice are rolled and placed on the dice tiles. They may take a die to claim a building tile from that column and then place that tile colored side down in their town.
They may also trash a tile to gain 3 gold income, or they may use the die to activate all the matching constructed buildings in their town.
Players will select one more die from the pool until only one remains. Everyone will use that die to activate one matching building in their town.
The first player token is given to the next player, and play continues until either all the buildings, tiles, or population tiles are gone, or someone has built a town of 15 tiles.
Points are tallied, and most buildings are given a bonus for being adjacent to other buildings. Each of the commodities is calculated differently, and points are awarded for populations and gold.
Then the player with the most successful town wins.
Old West Empresario continues the storyline that we saw in Pioneer Days. In this game, players are building out their cities, and they will be using some similar mechanics to what we saw in the first game, and all the same artwork, which is great. In this game, though, players will be playing a primarily tile placement game, and they'll be working to build tiles adjacent to one another in order to score big points at the end of the game. There's also a little bit of engine building going on, which is very cool, as players are able to activate more than one of their buildings on several of their turns. They become more and more powerful in the game, and so being able to put things in the right spot and just really collect the right tiles for your town is really a pretty enjoyable and fun experience in this one.
You use the dice very similarly in the previous game, Pioneer Days, where you have a couple of options on how to use those as either as an action to activate tiles, or in this one you can add tiles to your city, but those actually aren't built at the time. They go face down, and then once you construct them, then you can begin activating them, and that is where the engine building process really shines in this game.
The game has a lot of different opportunities for scoring, because you will score based on like who has the most of a certain tile or what's next to other tiles, or as you collect those commodity cards, commodity icons on your tiles, being able to look through what's available for that die, each round, and then adding it to your town, and then determining when do I kind of waste a die, when do I spend a die just to activate this building. Lots of really thinky options, lots of really different paths to victory in this one.
Yeah, and there's also a lot of thinking on which die do I leave if I happen to be the last player in the round. Which one do I leave for everyone else to activate? I've noticed nobody has a 6th building, so if I leave that one, I'll be the only one to activate and basically give myself a bonus.
Yeah, lots of fun choices, lots of really cool things going on. The illustrations for the game, like I mentioned, are similar to what we saw before, so I think this fits together really well as a continuation of that storyline. Overall, I felt like the game had a pretty good tension. There was a little bit of downtime maybe as you were waiting, especially at higher player counts, for other players to take their turns and select their die, especially once you kind of got on a mission and you were like, oh yeah, I know that every time I want the green tiles, I'm adding those to my town, that's the one I'm going for. Sometimes that planning, it was actually not a bad thing, because it gave me opportunity to plan ahead for what I wanted to do. And I did feel like there was a good tension of trying to get the one that I needed, or being able to manipulate it into the one that I needed.
As far as player interaction goes, there's really not a whole lot of player interaction besides just which die you're going to draft. There is one tile, the Undertaker, that allows you to hurt other players if you happen to have that, but you do get negative points at the end of the game for having that tile. So there's a little balancing there, but other than that, there's not a whole lot of actual player interaction besides the dice drafting.
There are a couple different ways to trigger the end of the game, and so that's kind of nice because you do have to keep an eye on, like, is somebody draining the population and getting points that way, or are we running close to running out of tiles? At the end of the game, you do all your scoring, and similar to games like Between Two Cities or Castles of Melnick and Ludwig, you don't really know who's kind of in the lead during the game because it could be anybody's game as you start to tally those final points at the end.
Yeah, and even if you have been a player who was able to get some of those most wanted cards for completing certain objectives, sometimes other players have strategically laid out their town very well, and so even though they didn't get those bonus points first, they still can pull it out in the end. One thing I did want to mention, the tiles have good iconography on them for the most part. They made sense. There's a good cheat sheet on the back of the rule book so that you can reference that easily. I feel like they were missing that one icon on how to score in that chart. Once you figured out that, oh, that top right corner, that means this thing on the chart, then we were good to go. But it was the first time we played through, a little confusing figuring that out at first.
Yeah, I find it good to learn to play on this one because it is just a little bit complicated, but overall it was a great meaty game. It took us about an hour, I think, to play the first game, and then we've played it several times through since then. Yeah, a good, enjoyable experience with lots of variations on how you can try to get to victory. So it'll pull you back to the table. There's some good replayability because there are so many different ways to score points.
If this sounds like something you're interested in, check out Old West Empresario from TMG, and then be sure to check out our other videos and subscribe to Tantrum House.
That we saw in Pioneer Games. Old West Empresario continues the story that we saw in Pioneer Days, which is the previous game. The next in the line of games following the Pioneer Games.
Oh, gosh.
You're distracting me. Get out of here. Tile placement, board gamey.
Stan Kordonsky.
I can tell when she knows it's going to make it into the outtakes.